Now let's dive into one of the most important concepts in React.js fundamentals, which is React components. So components are a building blocks of your React application. They let you break your UI. So UI stands for user interface, that let you break your UI into small reusable pieces. You can think of it like a Lego blocks that you build small pieces and then combine them together to make something great or something amazing. So why learning components are so important? Because it's your first step in your React journey learning. Also, all the apps or the React apps specifically are made out of components. Okay, so simply components, we can define it with simple way. A component is just a JavaScript function or a class function. I hope you are familiar with some of the JavaScript syntax. So a component is a JavaScript function or a class that returns a piece of UI. For example, a button or a header or even a form can be a component. So components comes in two types. We have, first of all, we have the class component and the function components. So in our tutorial, this one, we will focus and concentrate on function components. Okay, because class components, it's outdated, but when the hook feature pops up and becomes so popular and easy to create your React apps. Now let's back to our VS Code and build our first React component. Okay, let me will hide myself here from here so that you can concentrate on the code and see the code better. And then let's zoom a bit and let's start with the class component. So this kind of components, they are not widely used anymore, but still exist in some of the old code bases. So here is a rule applies for the class component and even the function component. That when creating a React component, the component's name must start with the uppercase letter. Okay, and here we can see this function component. It comes by default here once we installed our React app here with the Vite. So we notice here the component name up here with the uppercase letter, and here it will return the UI. Class component, I will show you here exactly how does it looks like, the syntax. So it starts with the class keyword here and followed by the name of the component. In our case, for example, here app starts with the capital letter and followed by the extends here, and this extend will inheritance the code from a react.component method here, and between the curly braces here it will include the render method here, and within the render method here it will return our HTML element, which is in our case this one is h2, says, for example, hi, I'm a class component. Okay, let's comment this out here and back and clearing up everything here in this app.jsx file here and write our own component. We can create our component with something like this function, and the name of the component here is app followed by the parentheses. This component will say, for example, hi, I am a function component. Save it, and the second thing you have to do here is exporting this function component, so then you can use it to render the UI in our main.jsx here. Okay, export default and the name of the component, in our case is application. Save it, and see here in the main we imported our app component here from this file app.jsx and render it here with this DOM method here, that selecting the ID of root here from the HTML file here and render it in this div in our UI. So now let's head over to our browser and you should see the text we are rendering. There we go. Our component says simply, it's saying, hi, I'm a function component. Let me split the page here so that we can check our browser and the code in the same time. Nowadays, you can use the new JavaScript syntax called a raw function component. That looks like something like that, just declaring here the function with the const, okay, and then followed by the name of the component, in our case is app here, let's make it, and then followed by the equal sign, and then the parentheses, and also with the arrow and the curly braces, and simply return our element. In our case, h2 here says, for example, I am an arrow function. Save it, and let me comment out this function component, and here we go. Okay, and the beauty about this arrow function, if you are, for example, just rendering one element here, just one thing here, and then you can get rid of the curly braces and the return keyword also. Save it, the result, it will be the same. Beautiful. Let's back our return and the curly braces here. The second thing we can do also is, and we can create a React component as many as we would like. We can make this, for example, twice and name it something else. Let's make our another component here, for example, called card, parentheses, and the arrow function. And here we go, and just return simply just an h2 also. Says, for example, I am a card component. Here we go. And then what we can do is we can use this card within the original app component and simply wrapping it with something called a React fragment here, or just a regular div. Why we should wrap in our elements here in this app? That's because that's the role of our React components, that each component here, even a function or even a class component, that returns only one element. And if, let's see here, it will pop the error if we do, for example, rendering, for example, another element here. In our case, let's make the component, save it, and the error, it will pop up here. It says JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Okay, what we can do here is wrapping our elements here with the div element first, save it, and here we go. Our card here is pops up and shows in the UI. Or as I told you, we can do something more special in React, which is the fragments, and save. The result, it will be the same. And the power of React components is reusability. We can reuse this component many times. Let's copy and paste it down here through clicking in our Alt and Shift, and also the arrow down or above. That will make a copy and paste it down as you want. Let's save it, and here we go. It's rendering our 4 cards here with the same text. And that's called the reusability of the components. So this card here, we can reuse it in the entire application or everywhere. Okay, imagine a card component including a lot of lines of code. Let's say maybe a 200 or 300 lines of code, and then that you want to split out this component into small pieces of components, and then wrapping up and then rendering them in one representative component like this one. So then this reusability, it gives us the power of creating or writing the code once and use it multiple times like this one, and saving our time and limiting the repetition. And that's the power of our React component based architecture. But of course, it will start making much sense as we dive deeper in more real React components and apps. So I can show you how a real developer use it into day-to-day projects. But writing components not enough sometimes. We want pass data between components from one component to another. Okay, so to display something specific or not creating the same or similar components for every letter change, and we can do that through props. Simply in React, props, shorts for properties, are a way to pass data between components. Okay, and props allows component to communicate with each other. You apparently will do it from parent component to child component. Think of prop as an argument you pass it into your application, here or here, for example, in your function, here or here. Let me show you how to use props in a real action in our current example. Let's say each of the cards here render a different title. Later on, it can be a product thumbnail or a title or a description or something else that you would like. But for now, let's say just a title. We can go into that card and pass something known as a prop. Let's call it title, for example, here. Let's make a title, and equal sign here, and within the double quotes here we can write our prop. In our case, for example, if we had a product, let's say for example we have the product one, and also in the second card we have for example a product 2. Let's copy it and paste it here, and here also, and here also. Okay, and here we have the product 2, product 3, and products 4. So you notice immediately in our UI here, there is no changes have been made to our application. They are all stay the same card components here. Okay, but now as a second step to using prop, we can put the prop into use by heading to the card component and accepting the prop here, right here. So let's call a title, and we can do that between the parentheses here. Our prop here named title, so here we have to accept the title, and it will be destructured here. And instead of rendering the static text, for example in our case card component here, every time for each component, let's make it more dynamic and use the title prop here, so it will apply for each component their title. And here let's remove our static text, and between the curly braces let's use the title prop. Save it, and here we go. Immediately you will say our props here made our component dynamic and changes the text for each component. So keep in mind the prop can be anything. It can be a string as we did here, and it can be also a number. Let's say for example we have a product with a quantity of, for example, a 3 quantity of our project, and also we can do the prop as a boolean. If our product for example has a discount or not, let's say here is a true. And also we can do another prop here, for example more complex, like an array. Let's name sizes, and here between the curly braces we have to define our array. For example, say here the large size as a second item of our array here, medium size, and the third, for example, we have the small size. Okay, and even you can make like another prop with the complex object, for example. And then as a second step, as you know, you have to accept this props here, right here in the top, and do something with them in the UI. Pretty cool, right? Now let's come to the point why I write this title between the curly braces here in our H2 element. Okay, we can do it just without the curly braces, but it's not possible because of the JSX syntax. So JSX stands for JavaScript XML. So JSX allows us to write HTML in React, and also makes it easier to write and add HTML in React. So JSX allows us to write HTML elements in JavaScript and place them in a DOM without any create element method or append child method. And also JSX converts the HTML tags into React elements, and also you are not required to use JSX, but JSX makes it easier to write React applications. Okay, and with the JSX you can write expressions inside curly braces. In our case we did here the title, and you can also make like a math operation. In our example, for example, let's say 3 plus 4, and will execute as a JavaScript normally. Okay, and here we go. It applies immediately the calculation. So until this point of time, we have just scratched the surface of what React.js are capable of. So far, you are doing good.